Okay, this is the Crazy 8-Ball script. Let's open it up and take a look at how it works here. First off, let's change names, change your date, and then save it under September. Save it under a new name with your initials. So let's take a look at how it runs. All right, Crazy 8-Ball game. Press enter to continue. Would you like to have your fortune predicted? It's asking for a response. Yes. Type your question. Will I win the lottery? No. Yeah, that's pretty good. Press enter to ask another question. Yeah, that's probably true too. All right, so cue to quit. So that's the Crazy 8-Ball game. Basically, the components of this game that we want to focus on are the script's ability to ask information from the user, pause, have the user enter in information, and then display back to the user some responses. So let's look at the script here. We have the screen object like the other scripts. CLS definition, it's going to clear the screen, make a beep. And then it has this pause. Pause is a new method, and it's just basically standard gets. It's just waiting for the user to enter some information. All right, now the Crazy 8-Ball object here, the ball class, has 4 separate attributes, and they're further defined down in these methods. The one we want to really focus on at first here is this case. This is like a shorthand way of writing a multiple if-else statement. The Crazy 8-Ball game is basically, it asks you, gives you the opportunity to ask a silly question, and it comes up with a random answer. To do that, we create a variable called random number, and we set it equal to 1 plus. Now, rand is a built-in mathematical function, kind of like square or multiply or add. Random is a function that's going to basically pick a random number between 0 and 6. So this variable is going to equal 1 plus whatever this function comes up with. Then down here in the case, it's going to evaluate the random number, and when random number equals 1, it'll set the variable prediction equal to the string yes. Then later on down in the program, it's going to display the prediction value when it tells the fortune. It's going to use that prediction value. Now notice that prediction variable has a $sign at the beginning of it. That's because it's a global variable, meaning it is defined and used up in this method, but the value is used also down in the logic portion of the script. So in order for the value of that variable to be retained in memory, you have to tell it to make it a global variable. Otherwise, it's going to use it temporarily and then it'll be gone. So it evaluates the value of random number, which is set up here, and based on the value of random number variable, you get these choices. And we'll be using something similar to this in our pizza menu. We're going to need to give the customer an opportunity to choose from a limited selection of pizzas. But instead of a random number creating the value, we're going to need to capture the customer's response. But we'll get to that later. So we've got a say greeting method. It sets the variable greeting to a string value. and then it just prints it on the screen. We've got get question. It sets the variable question to a string value and just displays it on the screen. Same thing with tell fortune. Basically just prints a line of information. And then the say goodbye method sets the goodbye variable to a string value and puts it on the screen. So those are the methods we're going to use. Now let's put them together in sequence and see what we come up with. All right, first off we have the screen. We use the new method and we create a new screen object. We have a ball. We create a new object called 8ball. We execute the console screen method CLS. We execute the 8ball method say greeting. And then we execute the console screen method pause. Now we're going to create a loop. And a loop is very important in programming. It gives you the opportunity to reuse lines of code without having to rewrite them. And it creates situations that can repeat over and over again. So we're going to create a loop by creating a variable and setting it equal to nothing. Just quote, quote. Then we're going to tell the program until answer equals y or answer equals n to run in this loop here. So when it equals y or n, until it does, it's going to stay in this loop. So it clears the screen, says would you like to have your fortune predicted, and then it creates this variable answer is going to well, it didn't create it. It was created up here and set to nothing. Now it's going to say answer is going to equal whatever you put in. All right, it's going to chop off the unseen characters, and then it's going to evaluate it. If answer equals n, it's over. Put in OK, perhaps another time, and it drops to the end of the script. If answer does not equal n, comes down here to else, and it creates another loop inside of a loop. Now we're going to say game over is going to set to no. Game is over? No, it's not. Until game over equals yes, we're going to run another loop inside here. So now we're inside a second loop. Console screen clear. We're going to use the 8ball method get question. 8ball method get fortune. We're going to pause. Then we're going to clear the screen. And then we're going to 8ball method tell fortune and use the value of prediction, the variable prediction, in the statement there. And we clear the screen. And we ask if they want to play again. We use the answer variable to get their response. We chop it. And then we evaluate answers. If it's equal to Q, then it's game over. We set game over equal to yes. The method ends. It circles back around. Well, now game over is equal to yes. And so this method ends, and it drops down here to clear screen. 8ball, say goodbye, and it's over. All right, so that's the program. Now your first assignment is to add 4 more prediction, 4 more random answers. So let's do that real quick. So when 7 prediction will equal always. When 8 never. 9 sometimes. And when 10 prediction, try to type, doesn't save you any time to fat finger it. Prediction equals what? There. So I've added my 4 more possible answers. Now, let's think this over a little bit. Originally, we only had 6 answers, so the random number was going to pick between 0 and 5. We now have 10, so we need to change that to 10. which is really going to pick between 0 and 9. Alright, so let's save that. See if it's working. Did we break it? Alright, yeah, we want a prediction, an answer, type of question. Answer is no. Sometimes, well, there's one of the new answers, prediction number 9. Sometimes showed up. Always, that's another new one. So, yeah, it's working. Sometimes, what? Oh, there's the last one. Never. Yes, there's the old ones. Unknown, what? So, it is working. We didn't break it. So, that's all I had to do for the assignment. Now, there's extra credit, though, if you can get it to display your question before it puts out the answer. So, basically, it asks you, what's your question? And then I want it to display back your question was, and then the answer. Because that's what's going to happen with your pizza menu. You're going to ask them, would you like to place an order? Yes. Would you like to order a pizza? Yes. And then, would you like to order salad and a drink and a dessert? And when it's all said and done, you want them to display back what they ordered. So this is just a single line version of that. So let's see, how are we going to do that? Under Get Question, you'll realize it's not capturing any data. It basically creates a variable, makes it equal to a line of script, a line of string text, and then prints it out. So right here, we need to create a new variable, and I'm going to call it response. And we're going to set it equal to the standard input. We'll use the gets method, and then a response chop. Get rid of the invisible characters. And then down here under tell fortune, we're going to want to put another line that basically says your question was, a little space, and then plus response, and then a couple more spaces afterwards. Alright, so it's going to type out your question was, whatever the response is, a couple blank lines, the answer is, and then random answer. Now here's the trick. Response is a variable that was defined in the method getQuestion, but I'm trying to use it down here in the method tellFortune. So I need to make sure it's a global variable, or it won't work. So that's an example of using a global variable. Let's see how that looks. Did we break it? All right, I want my prediction. Why? It pauses. Your question was why. The answer is what? All right, try another one. How? How? The answer is maybe. All right, but you know what's happening here? It pauses. That's kind of strange. I got to press enter again to get my answer. I don't like that. Let's change that. Find out where it's doing that. So we go down here to the logic of this game, and we see that when it gets the question, it gets the fortune, and then it pauses. And then it does a clear screen, and then it tells the fortune. Let's get rid of this pause right here. And to do it, we're going to put a pound sign at the beginning of the line, and you'll see that it changed it to a comment line. Now the reason you want to do that instead of deleting the whole line is if this turns out to be a mistake and you want to undo it, all you have to do is delete that pound sign and you've got it back to the original. So let's put in the pound sign, we save it, run it again. Yep. And then why? There, your question is why, the answer is yes. Perfect. How? The answer was how. Okay. Question was how. The answer is yes. And Q to quit. So that's the Crazy 8-Ball game. Need to add 4 more predictions, and then for extra credit, get it to display the question before it gives out the answer, or at the same time it gives out the answer. So that's the Crazy 8-Ball.